This is a Cardano chart zoomed out on the monthly. This is saying to me that there is a massive bull run for ADA that has not happened yet, but is incoming. And you'd be very, very, very surprised how unpopular that is to say right now. If you could see some of the comments that I receive, your jaw might drop just because I'm a guy out here bullish on a cryptocurrency called Cardano. All the while, we anticipate upside, we anticipate downside, and I want to talk about all of it in this video. This is the monthly. I want to dig into it. Something happening on the MACD on the monthly. Something happening on the MACD on the weekly. We've seen this before. And in this video, I also want to actually dig into the shorter term price action of ADA. Some interesting things going on that could be cool to track, maybe even valuable for anybody that's interested in the short term price action of Cardano. So, welcome to Crypto Capital Venture. Hit the subscribe, hit the like on the way in. If you're not a member in our Crypto Capital Venture intelligence system, check out the link below, 40% off going on right now. This is the Cardano risk model within our system. And this is saying the same thing as the monthly, that the bull run has not happened yet. Risk score for Cardano at 42. We've absolutely been here before, especially back here at around the same time last cycle. Now, this isn't a monthly chart zoomed out. There's a ton of other data that is kind of going into just this entire model, but we're going to kind of come back to this in just a moment after we really get some context zoomed out. Here it is on the monthly. So I want to look at the MACD on the monthly because we have a little bit of an update right now. Cardano on the monthly last night, what I was discussing in the video was this histogram. The kind of light color green that was kind of, and really the consolidation pattern of Cardano. If you just look at this is a monthly chart. But I was looking at last cycle when we had this histogram kind of like light green, and then it ticked bright green. This was a big move for ADA where it started making the move to the upside. And I was kind of like curious to see what happens here with this histogram, right? And this was just yesterday. If we go to the monthly chart right now, here's what that looks like. It's actually kind of ticked bright green. Now I'm becoming more interested, and we have to wait to see how this monthly candle closes. There's still 8 days, 23 hours. You can only imagine how much can happen within that time frame. We could be down 20%, we could be up 40%. I have absolutely no clue. We'll get some hints on the short-term price action, but the fact that this has kind of ticked green with so much upside in terms of the MACD line and even the histogram, if you actually just look at last bull cycle, that is becoming interesting to me on this macro chart as we're kind of testing key areas on the weekly. What's one key area? Well, one key area is the MACD getting set up to cross bullish above that signal line. You can just see that MACD setting up to make that move. Histogram, just trending towards zero on the histogram. Are we going to get the green? I want to mention something, and we're going to start kind of pivoting into this part of the chart back here on the short term. So I want you to just keep in mind, we had a MACD crossing in September of 2024, and it started ticking green, a very nice sign of momentum. But before we dive into the shorter term charts, I just want to point something to your attention. When that happened, notice the MACD crossing above the signal line, turning green right here. If you look at the bottom of the screen, check out what ADA was doing. It actually had kind of like another month or so of downside, kind of like sideways and down. So we had a really nice MACD signal, but a little bit more pain. And you can only imagine how, tough that was. And you might not have to imagine. It wasn't that long ago, and we were doing ADA content. And I remember ADA all of a sudden just finally exploded to the upside. So the reason I'm saying that is just because we have this MACD line getting ready to make the move, maybe it will make the move, we have to continually be careful of short-term price action. When it comes to short-term price action, things continue to be it's just fun for me to track this right now. And not only because of all the patterns and everything going on here, even if you look at this is from 11 days ago. I'm not going to show a clip, but you can just see we were tracking the inverse head and shoulders breakout that had happened. We were at 80 cents then. We were discussing the throwback to the triangle. If you go to the daily chart, it it happened, right? We got the throwback, not the triangle, but the inverse head and shoulders neckline. We got the exact throwback to the neckline. The 20-day moving average is right there. We got support at the 20-day moving average so far. This is a good sign. Right now in the short term, and we're going to come back to this, we're contending with the 200-day moving average. And this is where some caution might be had on the short term. What I really want to bring up to you is this, though. And this is maybe a little weird, and I'm not saying that this is absolutely applicable in every way. But for me, as somebody who's been covering Cardano so long, this consolidation that we had, it brought me back to all the way back here in last cycle, November 20th, 2020. I kind of remembered tracking similar consolidation breakouts or breakout in this aspect on Cardano. Cardano 11 cents. But notice the date, November 20th, 2020, Cardano consolidating. That's what the daily chart looked like back then. Here's what it looks like right now. Now, I know it's not identical, and this inverse head and shoulders here is kind of messing up the picture a little, but if you just look at back then, now, it becomes interesting. And the thing that really gets me is this move to the upside. You remember Donald Trump tweeting about ADA or posting about ADA. If this never happened, I cannot help but wonder what the consolidation for ADA would have looked like. Would ADA have kept falling and then balanced and then put in kind of a more even ascending triangle? Way more similar to back then at this time? I just don't know. It's all speculation. But when I'm doing short-term price analysis, the speculation becomes fun. On the macro, it's way more clear to me. On the short term, it's way more speculative. But that's the short term. And the reason I'm bringing that date up again, November 2020, is because if we go to the risk model pre-bull market, and I'm sure sentiment was not good for ADA, just look, November 20th or November 11th, 10th, 2020, risk score 41. And then boom, we get this breakout. We get the breakout to the upside end of November. It enters the 50s and consolidates. If we go to the chart on ADA, we can go to the weekly chart on ADA and just see that move happening. Here it is, mid-November, breakout, towards the end of November, consolidation. So kind of, if I'm remembering correctly, in the 40s, right here in risk score, and then the breakout happened. All the while, we're having such similar looking consolidation. To me, it makes the short term a little bit more exciting to track because I don't know if there's going to be a breakout to the upside. We could absolutely do the exact opposite of last cycle at this moment and break to the downside. I just want to say that. It could happen. Be prepared for it. But right now, in terms of the risk score for ADA and even the structure of the entire charts, because if you just look at the structure, we are very much in a similar type of place as back here. And so that's ADA in terms of those two macros, but let's zoom in now and do the short-term price analysis. So we just had the inverse head and shoulders pattern on here. If I can get it back, there it is. And we got the throwback. But putting aside that kind of speculative triangle that I had there, I do want to just continue tracking this entire move because if you look at it right now, ADA got the breakout. The target is $1 right now. But notice this first area of contention for ADA. It's this 200-day moving average. So if we're doing any type of analysis right now in the short term, for me, there's nothing else really to watch than this 200-day moving average because at the end of the day, even as I do this video, I mean, we just opened a brand new daily candle, but we just started and this daily candle is seeing resistance. Yesterday's daily candle, seeing resistance. So I'm wondering if this 200-day moving average is going to be an issue for ADA. I want to mention something. Last cycle, the 200-day moving average was below ADA. ADA was kind of almost seeing support at the 200-day moving average. So I want to be very upfront. This would not be a good thing to see a continued resistance at the 200-day moving average. And maybe we fall into an environment. Crypto's falling. Altcoins are falling. I don't like saying it. Cardano's falling. And the thing is, even on that weekly chart, we just saw how, yes, we have a MACD set up that's looking real good, but we had a MACD starting to look very good right here too, but there was still downside even during that time. ADA still was not ready to break out. And I'm saying at the short-term resistance that ADA is at right now, just be prepared for something like that. At least I am, meaning I'm prepared to go lower, to test really important areas. In this case, just to give you an idea, and then we can talk about upside, swing low to swing high, Fibonacci, if crypto's falling, 65 cents to around 58 cents. That's the higher low Fibonacci for ADA if we kind of fall into some type of downside environment. And it's just something that, I like to be prepared for. No matter what's going on, I just like to be prepared for upside and downside. Now, to the upside, let's be very clear. For me, the dollar is the target. It's the target for so many reasons, even outside of this inverse head and shoulders. It's really flipping the story around on ADA, and the dollar is just kind of a mental part of the story. If you go to the weekly chart, there are more important things happening than just the dollar. But the dollar outside of the inverse head and shoulders target to the upside, if we kind of place it here on the weekly, the dollar is just this mental area. Even last cycle, you can see just constantly testing that dollar area. Everybody wondering, is it going to break the dollar area all-time high from cycles ago? The dollar is a very important area. Right now, failed to stay above $1. So the target to $1 is meaningful, but more meaningful is this $1.20, $1.25 bull market door area that we already saw resistance to. So that move out of the inverse head and shoulders to $1 is important because it continues its way to the upper range of the bull market doors. Now, if we get the move, I will very closely be watching things like the risk score on our risk model for ADA. I have a couple of alerts, 55 and 60. I have to really figure out my plan in terms of ADA still. I've not done it in the exit planner. And I want to just think about the risk score in a bull move for ADA and what it might do. But I will be watching closely what's happening here. If ADA does get a breakout to the upside and starts approaching key areas like $1 or even the upper end of the bull market doors, and I'll kind of be comparing it to last cycle's breakout that we did get. But again, there's no, telling whether or not that move happens right now or not. There's a lot to be careful for, but at the very least, there's a lot to watch for on the short term. If ADA can break the 200-day moving average, we could be onto something. At the very least, this swing high to swing low on the short term, the 1618 area, the higher high area is around 95 cents. So the big resistance for ADA, if ADA starts breaking out for me, is 95 cents at the 1618 to the dollar target. That's that next area. If ADA breaks out, maybe ADA starts kind of seeing some consolidation there, whether it's sideways, down, taking a break before continuation. That's something we'll monitor if it happens. All the while, everybody, that's all this is my opinion. I want to kind of echo that over and over, and I'm just kind of tracking my journey with you. So let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the subscribe, hit the like, turn notifications on. And again, check out the link below, 40% off right now going on in our intelligence system. I appreciate all of you watching. I'll see you in the next video. God bless.